All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What's going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports, All Plays Network. Today's show, the full count, with Greg, Ray, and myself. Before we get into the introduction, I just want to say that it's brought to you by Suzanne Paparazzi's Jewelry. So here's the little video clip for it.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
And there's also Misty Meadows. I just wanted to remind everybody that if you're out there in the comment section, just like Brandon is right now, and you're not part of the ASAP Network and you want a free t-shirt, all you have to do is like the show, comment the show, be engaged in the show. And the hero with the most comments tallied up by the end of the month wins a free t-shirt. But say for a second that you're driving, you can't actually watch the show, you're listening it through it, or whatever the case is. It is $14.99 plus shipping and handling if you want to buy it. Sizes go from small to XL, but if you wanted a bigger size, it costs a couple bucks extra, and not too much. So let's go on. And so first things first, how are the both of you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm ready to get the show on the road.
Doing pretty good, Nate. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing really well myself. The first question I've got to ask, currently 2021 season, what team do you think has the best starting rotation? And we're gonna go with Greg on this one first.
Okay. The team that I think has the best pitching rotation right now would either have to be the Padres or the Mets. I think the 1-2 combo with Jacob deGrom and Carrasco over there with the Mets is second to none. They have the best WAR percentage between a 1-2 combo. The Padres picking up Blake Snell, Yu Darvish was huge. Clevenger maybe coming back soon.
Oh,
well, anyway,
he jumped out of there
right after his break. Ray, what do you think is the best?
I'm going with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They had National League's best rotation ERA with 3.29 last season. Things a little wonky in October. Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler, Julio Arenas, and Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin, and they did pick up David Price out front, in their organization now. So they added on to their starting pitchers. So I think with Kershaw, doing what he did last year and probably going to improve this year on his numbers and stuff like that, you still got to give the world's champion Los Angeles Dodgers that nod for that starting pitching rotation they have. And my other one, it would be the Cleveland Indians with Shane Bieber, Zach Plastic, Aaron Cleveland, and Trish McCants, and Carlos Carcereno, whose ERA was 3.40 last year, going back all the way to 2014. So if they get their act together, Cleveland Indians can be up there with the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres.
That was an interesting take right there. We'll let Greg finish since he kind of cut out during his. Greg? What is your starting rotation? What do you think is the best one?
Okay. As I stated earlier, I think that the best starting rotation is the Mets. You got Stroman, Carrasco, Syndergaard coming back in July, Jacob deGrom. You got Taijuan Walker coming into the fold. I think that's going to be a pretty unhittable starting rotation for the Mets. Of course, the Padres are looking good with picking up Yu Darvish and Blake Snell. They got a young prospect coming up in Mackenzie Gore, who's supposed to be absolutely lights out. So look for him to maybe be breaking into the starting rotation at some point later this season. He's a 5-tool pitcher, has great breaking ball, excellent fastball. Of course, there's other teams that you could put in the mix. Of course, the Dodgers just picked up Bauer. They're loaded with Kershaw, Price, Urias. The Braves have a great starting rotation with Fried and Anderson in there and Smiley. So, I think that there's plenty of great pitching rotations going on this year. The Nationals also, still have some healthy arms in their lineup, but I don't know. I think that what the Mets and Padres have done, it's going to be second to none. Really, I think they've got a chance to kind of overtake the Dodgers. I know that on paper the Dodgers probably would be the favorites for the best starting rotation, but I think that the Mets and the Padres can hold their own.
Wow. So mine, I'm going to agree with Ray on this one. Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Walker Buehler, Julio Jerez, and David Price. David Price actually opted out last year, so he didn't play last year's season, but he was part of the team into that 2019.
Yeah.
Now Trevor, last year they had the best ERA, starting rotation ERA, not just individual player ERA, but starting rotation ERA. Won the Super Bowl with that best starting rotation. And they added in former CY Young winner in Trevor Bauer.
Yep.
So, going into the next topic, going in through all of the divisions. Actually, I'll go first on this one. Who do you think will be the best? Who will come up on top for each one of the divisions? AL East, I'll go first. AL East, I have the Yankees coming up on top on that one. The White Sox for the AL Central. AL West, I'm not going with the Rangers, but I'm actually not going with the Oakland A's either. I'm actually going to go with the Angels on this one. So it might be a little bit of a sleeper team there. Now, moving over to the NL, going with the Braves over the Mets. Going with the Cardinals. And then NL West, I'm going with the Dodgers. Ray, who do you think will win each division?
I pretty much got the same for the NL East and the AL East with you, the Braves and the Yankees. The National League Central Division, I have the St. Louis Cardinals winning over the Cubs. The American Central, I have Minnesota Twins. I think they're a better team than with Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Indians. They're probably going to give them a run. The NL West, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the NL West and the AL West, I have the Houston Astros overtaking the Oakland Athletics.
Greg, now going to you. What do you think? Who do you think will win the division for each in the MLB this year? Each division.
Okay, in the AL East, and this is completely, if they're healthy or somewhat healthy, I think that the Yankees got it this year for the AL East. In the Central, I'm going to throw Brandon Herrera a bone and say that the Minnesota Twins are going to edge out the White Sox. In the West, I got the Angels. Angels have great. They've got 5 or 6 great hitters in that lineup. They've made some moves. They're still lacking a little bit more pitching depth and everything, but I think that they got what it takes this year to overtake the West. I think that division is going to be a little bit. It's going to be more up for grabs. I don't think that Houston has a chokehold on it anymore. So, in the NL West, you guys know where I'm going. Padres, baby. I think that the Padres are going to take it. I think they're going to edge out the Dodgers. Now, I'm a Cardinals fan, so in my heart, I'm going to take the Cardinals. I think that they've made enough moves. Losing out on Colton Wong this year is a big blow, but keeping Yachty in the lineup, picking up Arenado from Nate the Great, the Stat Masters Rockies was a big move. But I see the Brewers giving them a little bit of contention. In the NL East, I'm going with the Mets. I think the Mets will edge out the Braves a little bit. So that's what I got.
Every time somebody brings up that Nolan Arenado move, it's just sad. Now I do have a couple of there's a couple of comments in here. Tim Fielder actually, he says Toronto, White Sox, Angels, Dodgers, St. Louis Cardinals, and the New York Mets. And I'm gonna have to laugh at this comment only because when you said the Minnesota Twins, right when that happened, this comment popped up. And then he said right here, another smart man in Greg. And Tim says Astros can't overcome the garbage cans bang bang.
Well, in that National League West, I put it a narrow margin. I said they win. I said the Astros win by a game and a half over the Athletics. So that AL West is going to be a hot mess out there this season.
I've always said that the Astros World Series from a few years ago was like watching a Stomp concert. Remember the band Stomp that always made music out of trash cans?
Yeah.
It was like watching a Stomp concert.
Yep.
Just a lot of bang banging going along.
So we're going to skip over the spring training comment and we're going to go back into it for a second. But what do you think is the underdog what do you think is the Cinderella team this year for the MLB? We're going to go with Greg on this one first.
It is March Madness coming up upon us here pretty soon. So I'm getting excited for that. So in reference to the Cinderella for baseball, I'm going to go with the Brewers. I think that the Brewers, they picked up Jackie Bradley, so they got a little bit of more defensive help in the outfield. Woodruff and Burns over there are two of the most underrated starting pitchers in all of baseball. So I could see the Brewers kind of making a move. Like I mentioned earlier, they're going to give the Cardinals plenty of contention in the Central. So I could see them making some good moves. They don't have the greatest pop in their lineup, but I do think that their pitching staff is a little bit underrated. Definitely not a top 10 pitching staff, but Woodruff and Burns and of course Hader in the bullpen, they've got some pretty good arms in there. So I see the Brewers having potential to make the playoffs or make a pretty good run just because they do have some underrated pitchers on their staff. So
I'm actually gonna go second on this one. Because you went with the Brewers. The only thing I'm gonna have to say about that though is, they don't have a lot of hitters on that team. So I don't think that they're going to go with the playoffs because that hitting their hitting actually concerns me. They've got great defense. They just don't have a lot of hitters. I'm actually going to go with and I said this in my division take, but I'm actually going to go with the Angels. I have them winning the division. The only thing, the thing that concerns me still, and I think they addressed it. I just don't think that I just don't think it might have been the right answer. I think it was an upgrade, but I don't think it might have been the right answer. Is they addressed the pitching staff. I still think that needs some work on, but I think it was what they had last year. So I have them winning the division. They have great, hitters. They have a great defense. So I have them winning the division. They're my Cinderella team going into the year. Ray, what is your Cinderella team?
Well, Greg's already said it. And I picked the Milwaukee Brewers too, but I'm gonna go a little bit into the little why I picked the Brewers. Milwaukee Brewers in 2021 World Series odds is plus 4,000. Brewers check in at 40-1 to win the 2001 World Series. Those odds put them firmly in the middle of the pack, four-way tie with 16th. So they're the 16th team picked by Las Vegas to win the World Series. But like he said, I think the Brewers will be a better team this year with their two combined pitchers and Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. They both combined with 2.63 ERA with 12.1 Ks per 9 innings in 2020. They also to get their opt-out guy in 2020, outfielder Lorenzo came back into the lineup too. That might help to blossom up that little bit of their hitting of their lineup. So that's my Cinderella team. And the only reason I picked them is because of the odds, and I think the Brewers can have a better season than what they had last year.
So I understand, people are saying Royals. So I understand why. Only because of that trade that Cleveland made this past offseason. I understand that take, but I don't think that they're even going to get second. I think they're going to land third.
Yeah.
Now going on to the next topic, we're gonna discuss. What do you think that makes MLB spring training? What makes them more? I'm looking for the right, lacking the right word here, but more attractive than say the NFL preseason, NBA preseason. What makes them more? I would say attractive, but I didn't think of a better word. Ray?
Major League Baseball, their spring training is a whole lot different with NFL spring training. I have been to both. I've been to Major League Baseball, some of the Braves spring training team here in Florida. Also went to the Jaguars spring training in NFL. Basically, what a Major League is, they turn their spring training into a season. You have competitive baseball, people trying to make the team, but you also got a family atmosphere out in the ballpark. They're actually out there playing games and stuff like against another team. The NFL, your spring training is you going out there and watching them do their drills, competing against each other, trying to see who's going to make the team, who's not going to make the team. They don't that preseason games don't come along until, in August. So they actually play in their stadiums, during that season. But you're only seeing the half of their roster. But in Major League Baseball, you're seeing the entire roster. You're seeing their prospects. You're seeing some of their professional players go. NFL, you get your first preseason game. They play the first quarter. Then they then they get there all your backups in there, and the ones who are competing. Then your next spring game, your next game, they play almost through the halfway through the second quarter, and then they bring them out. And that's the difference between Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball split their squad. They have sometimes squads playing 2 different games at one time. It makes it more fun for the family, and it's a really more family atmosphere. And baseball has been going around a long time. So, and it's also an American pastime.
Greg?
Well, I've always thought that springtime is the best time for all things. I think.
Well,
okay. Right after his break, we'll give the answer. So, I'm just gonna add on to what you said here. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go really more because they mic the players. They have their players mic'd in the NBA and NFL don't. I think really more of some of the commentary said for these mic players are actually kind of funny in a way. That's why I think that their spring training is better than the NFL or the NBA. That's what makes me like that better. Greg, and now going into you, what do you think attracts more for the spring training for the MLB more than NFL or the NBA or NHL for that matter?
Well, I think a lot of it is the weather. The weather's starting to heat up. We're coming in on springtime. I think that the entertainment for spring training is pretty cheap in comparison to regular season. It, like Ray was talking about, it's a great family atmosphere, and a lot of people will tell you that if you mention a team's prospects or what their farm team looks like and everything, they might be thinking that you're saying that their team sucks or something, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of people just like to come out, see what talent is out there, what talent's coming up, who might make the roster, and who's coming up in the farm system and who looks promising. And I think that a lot of fans just want to and see what the outlook is, not just for the upcoming season, but for down the road, with some of the AA and AAA prospects that are also playing. So it's a good time for some of the rookie league players and AA and AAA people to come and show what they got. And who knows, maybe a few of them will make the team. But I think that the weather and the family atmosphere and just people will kind of curious as to see what the team's going to look like and how they're going to gel and everything. I think that gets a lot of people excited, for the season.
Going into the comments here, it says can't catch your ball in the cup unlike baseball. Just saying. Well, true story. I actually caught one I finished the nachos on a plate, and I ate all of them and caught a baseball from that plate. Now, going way back and talking 70s baseball. So Pete Rose, talking about taking Ray Fosse out of the 1970s All-Star game and ruining Fosse's career. Do you think that wasn't necessary, or do you think that was a good hustle? I'm gonna go with Greg on this one first.
I looked at this play a couple times, and I think that this play kind of lacks some sense on both players' parts. Now, back in the 70s, I don't think people realize the history of how much bad blood there was between the AL and the NL back in the 70s. I mean, the All-Star game used to mean it was almost like a blood sport. You know, it was highly competitive. The games were highly competitive. You had the commissioners coming in, giving pep talks to both squads. The NL wanted to kill the AL. The AL wanted to kill the NL. Pete Rose played in 17 All-Star games. They always got a pep talk from one of the commissioners that really wanted the National League to win, to show that the National League was superior. Pete Rose was a winner in 16 out of those 17 NL contests. Pete Rose played at one speed, 100 miles an hour, 100% of the time. So there was a base hit up the middle. He was trying to score from second. He was going full bore. A throw was potentially coming in. Ray Fosse was straddled in, blocking the bag without even a throw coming in yet. There was nowhere for Pete Rose to go. So Fosse was kind of at fault too, because he was just straddling the bag. There was nowhere for Pete Rose to slide. Pete Rose was trying to win the game, because he said before that it was of the utmost importance in those games back then to come out on top. So it was taken pretty seriously. But I think that play should have had a little bit more sense from both Rose and Fosse. The sad thing about Fosse is he played right after that, after the All-Star game. He played in a few games because they took x-rays and everything came up negative, because they didn't have the technology back then to figure out what was going on. But it was later revealed that he separated his shoulder and wasn't quite the same player. He did get a little bit more success later on. He was traded to Oakland and won a couple World Series titles in 73 and 74 with the A's. But who knows, he could have been a 20 to 30 home run guy, but he had some injuries along the way, after that as well, from how tough playing the catcher position is in baseball. But I don't know. I like Pete Rose's hustle. I don't think it was a malicious play, but I definitely think that it was a play that could have been avoided if Pete Rose would have had an avenue to slide. Fosse took that away from him, and Pete Rose just knocked him over with the shoulder. The sad thing is Pete Rose and Fosse went out the night before the All-Star game and stayed out till 3 or 4 in the morning. They were friends at the time. I don't know if they have much of a speaking relationship now, but I don't know if that play ruined a friendship over 50 years. But yeah, they were all friends at one point. But I think it's pretty sad. I think that Fosse should have done a little bit better job. Not completely blocking the running path away from Rose, and I think that Rose probably should have taken it maybe just a little bit easier on Fosse. But it's just an unfortunate play, but it's also one of the most iconic plays in all of baseball.
Ray, what do you have to say on that?
Well, Pete Rose is called Charlie Hustle, so he was hustling around the bases trying to get there. But also, I want to read some of the stuff from a ESPN report on this. The initial X-rays were negative, and headlines in the next Daily Republican was Rose smashed into Fosse in the final play of the game. But the hopeful subhead, American League catcher suffers only a bad bruise. That was out of the papers. And the UPI story, Rose said, quote, this was from Pete Rose, if I slid in there, I would have broken both legs. If I had slid head first, I could have broken my neck. Fosse was quoted saying, as he was saying, I know he didn't mean it, but who knows? Maybe he should have run around me. So I know it's an all-star game, but it was very highly competitive back in the days. And Pete Rose he plays the game 100 miles an hour. He plays just like a regular baseball game, even though it was an all-star game. And if it was a regular baseball game, he probably would have done the same thing. So, I mean, I don't think he put the emphasis trying to hurt him or trying to ruin his career or something like that. But, you got to understand Pete Rose's mind, too. you got to understand that he's Charlie Hustle. He's going to hustle around the bases all the time. He's going to make the plays that he needs to play to win for the game, for the team, even though it was the final play. I can understand Greg's point of view too, but it's bonehead plays on both parts. I mean, so if they're going to take it that seriously, you're going to have the ramification of good baseball. I mean, it was not a malicious non-baseball play. It was in the baseball play. If you play baseball and the catcher blocks the plate, and I know for a hand because I played catcher, so if I block the plate, I know I'm going to take a physical abuse at coming in at that plate because they're either going to come in there with that running me over hard, they're going to slide into me, or they're going to try to knock the ball out, or they're going to try to put me off the plate so they can get in there and get the score. So you got to understand the position. You got to understand the base running. You got to understand the logic. And that's how baseball was back then. They played baseball 100 miles an hour. They played all-star game like a regular baseball game. Doesn't matter what team you were on and what American National League. They didn't care. They wanted to win the game. They wanted to beat the American League team, and the American League team wanted to beat the National League team. And that's how they played. So to me, I think it was fair all play. It was a baseball play.
So for me, I'm going to answer this question in two different ways. Now, if you asked me this question in 1970s, times have changed so much since 1970 to now. So if you asked me this question way back then, I think that the All-Star game actually meant something. So I think that was a neat hustle, but we know more about what happened during the time. We know how much the game has changed. The reality is the All-Star game doesn't count towards the regular season. And so now the All-Star game is just people messing around and having a great time. Back then it was more of a competitive game, AL versus NL, best players from both sides. I don't think that was an overreaction. But back then, if you asked me this question back in 1970, I would probably say that was fun to watch. Don't see any problem with that kind of attitude. So historically, what do you think is the best town in baseball? We're gonna go with Greg on this one first.
Well, they don't call them the best baseball fans for nothing. St. Louis Cardinals has got to be a great baseball town, probably the best. Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri has a lot of ties to the beer industry. Beer and baseball go hand in hand. St. Louis has always had supported their team through and through all the years. They have very considerate fans, very polite fans in comparison to other places like Philly, Boston, other places like that. So I would say that St. Louis is a baseball first city. So I put St. Louis in there. I'd also put Boston in there just because if you've ever watched the movie Fever Pitch with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore, it's pretty much like that. People are die hard about their Red Sox. They're through and through Red Sox fans. Okay, they support all their sports, but it's just that when the Red Sox are clicking, it's like it's like a nonstop bar scene, going on in Boston when the Red Sox are playing well. So I put St. Louis and Boston as probably the best baseball cities.
Ray?
I have Chicago because you got the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field, the history of Wrigley Field, Harry Carey singing that seventh inning stretch song. They have fans lined up outside the stadium trying to catch the home run ball that they leave the ballpark. They got the high-rise building on the other side that fans like to climb up there and watch games. I picked the Atlanta Braves because I've been to Atlanta Braves and I've seen their reaction and how they don't, when they're bad, they don't sell out, but they're still a baseball town team because they believe that Atlanta Braves with Dale Murphy. When Dale Murphy there, they sold out quite a few times with Dale Murphy there, and he was always my favorite baseball player. I picked Dodgers because if you go to Los Angeles, you go to the Dodger Stadium, you better make sure you have a knife or a weapon with you, because if they lose, they're going to stab you and they're going to shoot you. Basically, that's how they take that baseball, life or death. And then I picked, and then I had all the other ones. I had Baltimore. Baltimore was a great place to go. You had the Inner Harbor there. You got a great atmosphere. You have Kyle Ripken Jr. was playing. That was the hero there in Baltimore. I've been to a couple games at Camden Yards, at both the old one and the new one, and the history there. And, you can't go to baseball without all the history right there in Baltimore. So that's my three I picked.
So I'm actually gonna go with the Dodgers, but I'm gonna go with the Dodgers for a different reason. Jackie Robinson and Jackie Robinson Day. That's been a historic moment set in baseball. There's a day designated for Jackie Robinson. There's movies about Jackie Robinson. He was part of the Brooklyn Dodgers for a little while.
Yep.
So I'm going with that because of that historic moment. I'm actually going to go with the Dodgers. Now, this is probably the part where Greg was very excited about the movie Bull Durham. If it was recasted with 3 stars who are acting like right now, what 3 stars would you cast for the movie Bull Durham? Since Greg, you're the one that's very excited about this, you get to go first.
All right, yeah, I was the one that came up with this because it seems like every other week Bull Durham is on the Major League.
Oh, he going
Okay.
to do another break.
Ray, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, my recast is, Crash David was played by Kevin Costner, Annie Sylvia was played by Susan Sarandon, Eddie Calvin the Nuke Lucius was played by Tim Robbins. My recast of the Bull Durham is Crash Davis. Bull Durham recast will be Hugh Jackman. Annie Sylvia will be Tiffany Thiessen, and my the Nuke Lucius will be Josh Duhamel from Transformer.
Greg?
Okay. For Kevin Costner's part of Crash, I've got Ryan Gosling. I think that he's getting up to that age where he could kind of play an aging baseball lifer in the minor leagues. I think that he'd be pretty good. He's done a lot of different parts, from romance to sci-fi and everything. So I think it'd be a good turn for him to do a sports movie. As far as Nuke, I kind of think that Ansel Elgort, he's 6'3", still fairly young. He's got that long, wavy hair. I think that he'd fit the good part. You may know him from Divergent and Baby Driver and a few of those other movies. I think that he'd be a good one. I think that Miles Teller would be another good young actor that could carry that role. Or you could go completely crazy and get like a Shia LaBeouf or just act like a complete nut job on the mound. And for Susan Sarandon's part, I had a few different ones because, as you know, Susan Sarandon's got, she's decent looking, but she's got some different features about her. So I thought, who could be kind of sassy, kind of has weird features, or different kind of looking eyes. So I thought that Christina could pull off the part, even though she's a little on the short side. I thought that Amanda Seyfried, she's got those really, I don't know why her eyes were so appealing, but they are kind of look to her, and she's kind of sassy. But also, if you wanted to go the true redhead route that could pull off a sassy, seductive part, You could look at Isla Fisher, who's well known for Wedding Crashers. She played Vince Vaughn's love interest in Wedding Crashers. Or you can completely go outside the realm and go. I mean, I like Tessa Thompson, or a gal that I really like. Her name is Nazanin Baniandi. She's kind of, she's a beautiful woman. She's kind of classy, but I think that she can pull off kind of the smart, sassy, seductive role too. So those are a few options, but I'd say the best for Susan Sarandon, as far as looks and the red hair, would be Isla Fisher.
Okay, so I'm a big Marvel kind of guy. So all three of my actors are actually from Marvel. First, the catcher guy, I'm actually gonna go with Ryan Reynolds, who played Deadpool. The girl, I'm gonna go who played Captain America's love interest, Peggy Carter. I'm gonna go with Haley Atwell. And then for the pitcher, that one I had to think a lot about, but I mean, if he was younger, I probably might go with Robbie Downey Jr. If he was younger, but he's a little older now, so I'm just gonna go with Robbie Downey. I'm just gonna go with him.
Yeah, but like for the Durham Bulls, that is an actual team. They just flipped the name around. They're in Durham, North Carolina. Growing up as a kid, we always take a trip up to Durham to watch the Durham Bulls play because they were more like a Bad News Bear team than they were a professional baseball team. I mean, they committed a lot of errors like Bad News Bears. They also had a guy who was there, who was a mascot there, who was actually pretty good. He was very funny, very skinny, though he put on a great show. Playing around with all the players and stuff like back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So I have a lot of history with the Durham Bulls. They played in the old athletic park. I actually went to the stadium. They were actually in the movie. Well, that's where they played at. It was all recreation ballpark. You would never think it was an A-team ballpark. They moved into a new ballpark downtown Durham. The new athletic park is more of a AAA team now. They have flip-flopped them going from the Bad News Bears to an actual good powerhouse AAA team.
So going on to the next step, we're actually going to move on and talk a little bit about the New York Yankees catcher Gary Sanchez. So the question is, do you think that there's talks about his coach actually says that he might win the MVP this year? Do you agree with that?
I'll take it. Well, yeah, he will. He's got to forget the 2020 season. He had a dismal 2020 season. He was never comfortable. They took him out. The manager Aaron Boone said he didn't look comfortable none in the 2020 season. But he has a lot of help this year coming up. Aaron Judge said this in a quote: Gary Sanchez could win the American League MVP. Aaron Judge also said after the 4-0 win against Philly on Sunday over in at the George M. Steinbrenner Field, Judge said, quote, "He's that dynamic and that important of a player to this team. Sanchez will need to get back to his all-star days back in 2017-2019 season. He will be a key piece of the Yankees core. Sanchez got to work early in the offseason. He played winter ball in Dominican Republic. He's came back over. He's with the catching instructor coach Tanner Swanson. He's even stated that Sanchez has increased his voice and what he likes and dislikes, and that's something he didn't never do. He never voiced what he liked and disliked as a catcher, to where they can try to fix it to make it refine his skill. He did refine his hitting a little bit coming back in. He's got a little bit of a shorter swing. this is according to what the manager Aaron Boone said too on Sunday. I think the foundation is a little bit better at this point than it was last year. I feel Aaron Boone said he feels like he's really in a good place. So if he's in a really good place and he's done what he needs to do over in the offseason, shorten up his swing a little bit, refine his swing, refine his catching, and voicing what he likes and dislikes to the manager so he can put him in the right position. I think he have a turnaround season this year.
Greg?
I think that Gary Sanchez is going to be a valuable player. I don't think he's by any means going to be the most valuable player. As been noted, Gary Sanchez can hit the baseball. He's got plenty of power. His defensive skills at the catcher position leave a lot to be desired. He's not a strong defensive player. He is prone to strike out a lot, so he's kind of becoming like a Jose Canseco type of guy, kind of all or nothing, strikes out a lot, but he is capable of hitting quite a few home runs. But
nope, cut out again.
We'll find out after his break. So I'm actually going to answer this one. The one problem I have with the New York Yankees is there's a question of can they stay healthy throughout the season? That's the one big question, is if there's so many injuries on that team. No, I don't think he might be a valuable. He's probably going to be a valuable player. He's probably going to have a turnaround, but I don't think it's not going to really matter if his pitchers are hurt or whatever especially if the pitchers are hurt. I don't think it's going to really matter, honestly. Now, Greg, you cut out there. Do you think what were you going to say on that topic?
on Gary Sanchez?
Yeah, on Gary Sanchez.
I was just saying that if he could hone up his defensive skills a little bit better, we all know that he can hit home runs. He can hit for power. He's got a decent bat. He just is prone to striking out. But if he can and do a little bit better job of putting the ball into play a little bit more instead of striking out, and hone up his defensive skills, he's going to be a very valuable player. I don't think he's going to be the MVP by any stretch of the imagination this year, but he could definitely be a very huge piece for the Yankees' success this year moving forward. So I think that it was a very high praise from Aaron Judge to say that he's going to be an MVP or MVP caliber, but I think that he's way off the mark on that one as far as actually becoming the MVP. But I do think that he is going to be a very valuable piece for the Yankees moving forward, because he can hit the baseball and he can hit it a long ways. It's just a matter of, cutting down strikeouts and improving defensively.
So moving on to the next topic, and we're going to be talking about retired baseball players that I'm actually going to go first, and I'm not going to say he can play. He can play this year, like this year's baseball, but I do think that he retired early, and I do think he might get up to 10 more years at least. He actually played for the Colorado Rockies. Right-handed pitcher Mike Mussina. He actually, he went 29 and a 3.37 ERA with 150 strikeouts. That is just in the year 2008. So I think if you give him, I know that gets him up to maybe 48, and that might be a little bit too much. 10 years might be a little bit too much. But I do think that he retired a little early. I think he probably should have had a couple more years. Now going to Greg, who do you think could play now that retired early, or like how I said it?
Well, I've got two players, and now they're probably at legitimate retirement age. But this one's for you, Nate. Michael Young.
I agree with you on
Remember
that.
him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Favorite
I think that he
favorite.
retired a few years too early. I don't know at the age of 44 if he necessarily could be that effective, but I do think that he retired with a little bit left in the tank about 7 or 8 years ago when he was 35, 36. So I think that, he's still fit, and I think that he could still field the ball a little bit and hit. Another movie that came on that gave me a little bit of inspiration for this was the movie Mr. 3000. Remember the movie Mr. 3000 with Bernie Mac,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
he got his
Yeah.
3000th hit, and then he just retired suddenly, and then they found out that he was like 3 or 4 hits shy. So I'm looking at A-Rod, 45 years old, sitting on 697 home runs. I'm thinking, oh man, what if he got the itch to just try to see if he could get 3 more home runs to be part of the 700 club? So that's kind of wishful thinking, but I think that A-Rod, he's set financially. He's in a solid relationship with Jennifer Lopez, and I don't think he's going to get the itch to come back. Him and J-Lo are pretty much attached to the hip right now. But I thought, A-Rod, he keeps himself in incredible physical shape, and I think it'd be kind of interesting to see, and he wouldn't have to go to a high market team like the Yankees or anything like that. He could come and help out the Rockies, no pressure there. Bring in some fans when the fans are allowed to come in, and just see if he could get, 3 or 4 more home runs and become part of the 700 club. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Ray?
I went with Big Hurt Frank Thomas. He's doing that Nugenic TV commercial. He still looked fit. He still could come back and play a designated hitter. He ain't got to play out in the field at first base. He could be a designated hitter for the Chicago White Sox. So, Frank Thomas, Big Hurt, he still looks pretty good in conditioning. I went with Chipper Jones. He retired, but he could probably bat and play not third or shortstop anymore, probably second or first maybe. And then he could provide a little bit of power in the lineup, not probably like the home run that you used to do, probably more like situational hitting. And then I picked a pitcher, Ryan Dempster. He's the color analyst. He looks good. He looks physical in his early, I think he's mid 50s, early 60s now, but he's still looking good. I mean, you can't even tell his age on TV. He works for the Major League Baseball Network as a color analyst. So I think he can come back in and be a relief pitcher. So that's my 3.
You're actually just trying Marlins. So moving on to speaking of retired players, all this kind of stuff. I know it's kind of weird change up segment, but going in and talking about the New York Mets. Now, who do you think are the best out of all time top 5 New York Mets pitchers? I'm going to go with Greg on this one first.
All right, I had to move outside. I think I got a little bit better internet connection now. Okay, my top 5 Mets pitchers are Tom Seaver, of course, legendary Hall of Famer Tom Seaver. Who could deny him at the top spot? I got Dwight Gooden. His career was kind of derailed a little bit with drug use and everything, but he got back on track a little bit when he got a second chance to redeem himself with the Yankees, but won a World Series in '86. Tremendous pitcher, excellent fastball, great strikeout pitcher, one of the best young pitchers of all time, not just for the Mets. And then we got Jacob deGrom pitching currently, ace of the Mets right now on an up-and-coming Mets team that may make a push for the World Series. Then we're going way back also to the Tom Seaver era. We got Jerry Koosman, who was pretty much the second fiddle to Tom Seaver on those great late 60s, early 70s teams. He also won a Rookie of the Year, just like Tom Seaver did. Jerry Koosman was a big part of their success. He wasn't able to continue the type of success that Tom Seaver had continually through his career, but Jerry Koosman was a very effective pitcher and well-loved pitcher in New York. And then we got John, don't call me Matlack. So John Matlack was kind of a Band-Aid for the ultimate wound of the Mets getting rid of Nolan Ryan when they had no idea what they had. So John Matlack, he didn't have very good run support, but he was able to get 81, 82 wins for him over the late 60s to mid 70s. He also wasn't able to carry on much success after he left the Mets, but yeah, he was a pretty good Band-Aid for that wound after the Mets realized how great that Nolan Ryan was going to be after he was released in the early 70s.
Ray?
Well, I also went with Tom Seaver and Dwight Gooden. He picked those two out of my first two. But I went with Ron Darling at my number 3. He was overshadowed by Dwight Gooden. Ron Darling was one of the most dependable Mets starters during the middle of the late 1980s. Darling came to the Mets in a smart trade by GM Frank Catchison. He sent popular Lee Mazzilli to the Texas Rangers for Darling and fellow right-hander Walt Terrell. So that was my number 3. My number 4 was David Cone. And, David Cone was an actually pretty good pitcher in his day, back in 1986. 1986 before he was traded to the Mets along with Chris Gallick and Ed Hernan, Rick Anderson, and Mario Gazzo.
Really?
And Cone's first season, 1987, he shuffled back and forth between the rotation bullpen and finished with a 5-6 record at an ERA of 3.71. In 1988 season, he went into the bullpen back in the rotation. By May, he went going 20-3 with an ERA 2.22 ERA with 213 strikeouts. He finished third in voting for the Cy Young Award. That was my number 4. And then my number 5, I went off the script a little bit. I went to get a reliever. And Tug McGraw, 1972, he had an ERA of 1.70 ERA back-to-back seasons. So to me, I had to stick him in there because, he's one of the best relievers of all times back in the Mets days.
So for me, I went. I'm gonna go from 5 through 1. I'm going to start off with John Matlack. 82-81 record with the Mets for 7 years. He had a 3.03 ERA in New York. Twice led NL. Named the 3 All-Star games. MVP in the 1975 Summer Classic by earning a win and throwing 2 dominant innings. Number 4. I went with the current New York Mets pitcher, Jacob deGrom. No, not Tim Tebow, but Jacob deGrom, as Mitch is brought up in the comments. Over the next, he's been great. He had a slow start. I'll have to say that with Tommy John surgery. His rookie season, he finished the year 9-6 with a sharp 2.69 ERA and captured NL Rookie of the Year honors. And then over the next 3 years, deGrom remains the same presence in the injury-riddled Mets rotation, finishing 36 and 26 with a 3.03 ERA. Now, going in to number 3, I went with Jerry Koosman. He played from 1967 to 78. Koosman saved some of it. He did a lot of things in the postseason. Nets 1969 World Series triumph. He won both of his starts against Baltimore. no hitting the Orioles through 6 innings in Game 2. New York had a great run in the World Series in 1973, and in 1976 he finished with the postseason. He finished postseason record of 21-10. Number 2, I went with Dwight Gooden. He played from 84 to 94. He earned a 1984 NL Rookie of the Year award at the age of 19, and with a 17-9 record, 2.60 ERA, with a rookie record of 276 strikeouts in his rookie season. Now he had a 24-4 mark with a 1.53 ERA, which is the lowest record in baseball since 1968. Yes, I said it. It's the lowest record in baseball, 1.53 since 1968. He is the youngest person ever to receive NL Cy Young Award. And so now going into number one, I actually went with Tom Seaver, who he won 16 games in his first 2 seasons. Then towered a big-time heights in 1969 with a Cy Young Award-winning performance. He won 25 games, including a 10-0 mark and a 1.34 earned run average down from the stretch. And then he had a 10th-inning gem in Game 4 of the World Series to elevate the Mets' famous Miracle Championship. So, those are my top 5. We actually hit the above an hour mark. Stay tuned for Real Talk, which is actually coming up next at 8:30. Now, before we give the final thoughts, I just wanted to give a little bit of to let you all know 2 of the next Thursday night full count topics. 2 of them. 2010 all-time starting, best, first baseman, best second baseman in the 2010 decade. Throughout the whole team. It's confusing to say that, but and also the second topic that we're going to be talking about is like with the top 5. We're actually going to do that for the Atlanta Braves next week. Now going into the next Ray, what do you have to say? What are your last few words before we close this out?
Baseball season is going to be a wacky season here. We starting out. They're going to be the first league to actually play the full season coming up with hopefully no COVID be involved in this, and we get the whole 182 game season in. And they're probably some teams are letting fans in. I know in Florida they're letting 25% of the capacity in. Colorado and Chicago is going to do the same. I think they're doing 15%. I think. I'm not sure what the percentage up there is, but I'm getting ready for some baseball season. I got the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp down here. I can watch during the AAA team of the Florida Marlins for the first year of the AAA, and they used to be a AA team. So I'm getting ready to watch some baseball, minor league baseball down here, and then probably going to do some traveling up to Atlanta to watch the Atlanta Braves play a couple games this year once they let the fans back into the stadium.
Craig?
I just wanted to say that it was really fun tonight to talk a little bit about one of the all-time great classic movies, Bull Durham. So with that, I just wanted to leave you with one of Nuke LaLoosh's famous quotes. Baseball is a very simple game. You hit the ball, you catch the ball, you throw the ball. Sometimes you win, sometimes it rains. That's all I got.
Yep.
And sometimes you drop the ball. So Tim says, I see I mentioned you guys. I see I mentioned you guys on Tuesday, and you leave us out. LOL. Yes. Well, the show's not over. Now we're bringing up. Don't forget to stay tuned for what they have on Tuesday for the full count. And we're talking about the New York Mets and all this kind of stuff, but they had two things that they just did that were out of whack. Signing Bobby Bonilla and getting rid of probably the best baseball pitcher of all time, and I wonder why they're such a crazy team.
Yep.
So if you missed this show and you wanted to find out, you can check this out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, but also you can also check this out on audio through Anchor. Anchor, it distributes these out, and you can find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, any of the major platforms that Anchor distributes it out to. But if you also wanted to start your own podcast, do like what we're doing right now. Anchor is an easy way to start off. You can get paid by doing this. You could. It's easy. The distributing thing is easy. Editing it is easy. It's really easy to do. It's really easy way to start your own podcast as soon as you want to. And we do have a couple more comments. Good show, guys. Speaking of AAA, I love watching Tuesday's AAA show on baseball. Oh, well. And now it's been Nate the Great, Ray, and Greg signing out for now.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great high in the court, diamond in the lane. Variety, topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.